expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share.
Welcome to Unity News. Remember, there is no need to fear. God is in control, and Jesus is King. As Christians, we are called to bring heaven to earth, standing firm on the rock of our faith. Now let's get into today's news. Today, we have three major stories to discuss: Kamala Harris's disastrous interview, the growing disconnect between her campaign and the American people, and how President Biden's latest comments have further tied Harris to his administration's failures. Let's look at these developments from a Christian and conservative perspective, focusing on the truth behind the headlines.
It's not too much to ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not.
Kamala
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
I don't know.
So it's unclear to me how there could be an informed...
The problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything, okay?
But you know his answer to everything.
And that's why I would never vote for him, and people shouldn't vote for him. But people also are expected to have some idea of what the program is of the person you're supposed to vote for. You're just not supposed to say, well, you have to vote for Y because X is this, that, and the other. Let's find out a little bit more. And I don't think it's a lot to ask her to sit down for a real interview as opposed to a puff piece in which she describes like her feelings of growing up in Oakland with nice lawns.
Then I would just say to that, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number and I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there.
Kamala Harris's struggling campaign. Kamala Harris recently gave what many are calling her worst interview yet, facing soft questions that still left her stumbling. Despite being given every opportunity to present her case to the American people, Harris avoided answering directly, delivering word salads that only reinforced doubts about her leadership. What's the silver lining? This is a moment of clarity for voters. They are seeing that Harris cannot provide the moral or practical leadership this country desperately needs. It's a wake-up call to elect leaders who are transparent, accountable, and grounded in biblical principles.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future.
Yeah.
But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition, we have aspirations, we have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars. And looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from? To expand the child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do. And she says, we just have to do it. And that's great, and that's a campaign promise. But the issue is, if it means we're just going to borrow again, then what we're doing is we're just never addressing the deficit. And back in the days when you were a proud Republican, debts and deficits mattered.
Biden throws Kamala under the bus. In a recent appearance on The View, President Biden subtly shifted blame for his administration's failures onto Kamala Harris, stating that many of his decisions were delegated to her. This attempt to distance himself from Harris, even as her campaign falters, reveals cracks in the Democratic establishment. The positive: the truth is being exposed, the dishonesty and finger pointing within the current administration are becoming clearer. It's a reminder that when leadership is not built on integrity, it cannot stand. God calls us to honesty and righteousness, which are sorely lacking in today's political arena.
Work, and one could watch that and say, well, she didn't give a clear, direct answer. That's okay, because we are not talking about clear or direct issues.
The polls tell the real story. Recent polls show a significant shift in favor of Donald Trump, even among college students, a demographic that traditionally leans left. In places like Notre Dame, which previously favored Biden, Trump is now leading. This shift demonstrates that voters are disillusioned with the current administration and are seeking real change. What's encouraging here? This is evidence that the American people, especially young voters, are waking up to the failures of the establishment and are seeking leaders who stand for Christian values, truth, and strength. The tide is turning, and we can see God's hand in this shift.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility.
Proverbs 28:2 says, "When a country is rebellious, it has many rulers, but a ruler with discernment and knowledge maintains order." As the political landscape becomes more chaotic, we are reminded of the need for godly leadership. Leaders who seek wisdom, justice, and truth. We declare that God's truth will reign in the hearts of voters across this nation. May leaders of integrity and righteousness rise up, and may the light of Christ guide every decision. God's plan is in motion, and we trust in His perfect timing. Be sure to subscribe to Unity News, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. May God bless you and your families. Remember, we are called to be salt and light in this world. Stand strong in faith, for the best is yet to come.